end and our big B with the cosine on this end. So I know over here, again on this end, I will have cosine of angle B because I know angle B. Okay, over here on this end, it's matched with the little b squared. Then it goes the other two sides squared individually, so a squared and c squared added together, minus 2 times, once again, those other two sides, a and c, and then that's times cosine of b. Fill in the information that we know. I don't know b squared, that's what I was looking for, was the length of this side. But I do know the lengths of the other two sides. My a was 52 meters. My c was 44 meters. Okay, so as I fill in, so then I have minus 2 times 52 times 44 times the cosine, and this time I know my angle, it's 110, so I can just write cosine of 110. Let's continue. This is going to work out a little differently than our last question because notice this time we have the angle and are looking for the side. So what do we do now? I'm going to go ahead and square each of these values. This is going to get pretty big. Okay, so I'll have 52 squared, which remember means 52 times 52 is 2,704, plus 44 squared is 1,936, minus, and this is a whole string, I'm just going to put that whole string in my calculator. I'm going to start with my cosine so I make sure I don't mess that up. So with my calculator, just regular cosine, I'm going to do the cosine of 110. So I put my angle in first, 110, and then push cosine. Then I need to multiply that by 44, so times 44, and times 52, so times 52, and times negative 2, so times 2 with the negative. And I get a positive 1,565, put a couple decimals, 0.08. Okay, double check to make sure you have that down right. Okay, and I would also do that one more time in my calculator just to make sure I had the right number. I would go back through and do it again just to make sure I didn't hit a wrong button. Okay, and I get the same answer again. All right, so we're one step closer. Let's continue now. Okay, so again, we still have just b squared over here. We can't really do anything with it yet. Let's go ahead and add those three numbers together. So 2,704 plus 1,936 plus 1,565.08. I add those, I get 6,205.08. So all I have left, I need to get b by itself. Right now it's squared, so what's the opposite of squaring? What is the opposite of squaring? It's doing the square root. So I take the square root to remove the squared, and my answer is going to be whatever the square root of 6,205.08 is. Let's take the square root, and I get 78.77. They wanted me to round to the nearest tenth, so that would give me 78.8. So the length of that cable in this one would be 78.8 meters. Okay, so notice this worked differently than our previous example, okay, because we knew our angle this time and we're looking for a side. All right, let's try another. Find the measure of YZ. Where is YZ? It's this side right here. Okay, so let's see, what are we going to use? What situation we have? Well, we have two sides and one angle. Okay, so then we say, okay, where is the angle? And if it's between the two sides, then we use the law of cosines, which it is. We have a side, and the angle that's between them. So we know to use the law of cosines. We are trying to find this side right here, which would be little x, because it's across from big X. Okay, here's capital Z, this would be our little z, capital Y, this would be our little y. Now, what cosine? Cosine of what? Cosine of this angle x. Okay, so over here would be cosine x. Over here at the other end would be my little x squared. In between, we square the other two sides and add them together, so our y squared and our z squared. Minus 2 times, again, those two sides that we know, y and z, and then times the cosine of x. It didn't really fit together very well. Let's put in the information that we know. Okay, do we know our little x? No, that's the side we're trying to find. So we have x squared equals, do we know our y? We do. Y is 5. Do we know z? Yes, it's 12. And then minus 2 times the 5 and the 12, the two sides we know, times the cosine of our angle. Do we know our angle? We do. It's 28. So when it's set up this way, we simplify everything on this side. Just go one step at a time so you don't get too carried away. 5 squared, or 5 times 5, is 25. Plus 12 squared, 12 times 12 is 144. Minus, okay, so then we have this whole string of numbers multiplied together. So again, I would start with the cosine. So do 28 cosine of 28 times 12 times 5 times negative 2. And I get negative 105.95. Okay? Okay, so what do we have now? We have three numbers here. They're just numbers. We can combine them. Okay, so let's add 25, 144 minus 105.95. So 25 plus 144 minus 105.95 gives me 63.05. So I have x squared on the left-hand side equals 63.05. I need to get x by itself. Right now it's squared, so I do the opposite of squaring, which is to take the square root. That cancels out my squared and leaves me with just my little x, and the square root of 63.5 is going to be my answer. I get 7.94. They wanted rounded to just one decimal place, so the length of this side I was looking for is 7.9.